Ross Warner, Justice is Coming. We're going to try a second consecutive video here. The last time we did one was, last time I did one was right before the 1 o'clock game in Jacksonville. A little bit of different circumstances this week. I'll actually be at the game on Sunday in Washington. My wife and daughter will be accompanying me to D.C., not to the game itself, but we're going down to D.C. on Saturday morning. So pretty fired up. Going to see if there's any way I can meet Dan Fouts, who is doing the game for CBS. Going to make a quick drive-by on Saturday, see if I can get some information as to where CBS is staying. But that'll be quick and probably not successful. But hey, worth a shot. Anyways, huge game for the Chargers. Obviously, I don't worry as much about them getting to fool themselves as I did in the Norv Turner era. I would think that, especially since a lot of these guys are new, and also a lot of them have been pretty starved for success, at least the guys who have been in the last couple of years. I don't see them getting ahead of themselves. Certainly there's a chance that they lose the game, but that's a chance you take every week. And certainly I will try not to let my weekend be ruined if that happens. But unfortunately, the Charger season could be pretty much derailed. I can't necessarily say that that's a definite. They play Denver the next week at home. Denver is beatable. That we've seen. The team to beat them, we beat, so who's to say? But the Chargers need to keep winning. I know that seems like cliche. In many ways it is, but all this talk about them, being a surprise team and maybe being able to snag that last wild card spot. I don't get too bogged down with who's winning and who's losing outside of us, but the Chargers need to keep winning to stay in the conversation. I know that sounds, like I said, cliche, but it's the truth in this case. And whether Robert Griffin is healthy or not, or getting less healthy or getting more healthy, this is a game the Chargers need to win. Again, I think they know the formula for winning. Mike McCoy seems pretty adamant that they're going to change from week to week, what they do on both sides of the ball, but particularly offense. But it seems like what we've all been preaching the last couple of years, that Philip Rivers again plays best when when he has a running game. I think you could say that about any quarterback, but I think Aaron Rodgers, for instance, he had a minimal running game in 2009 when the Packers went to the Super Bowl, and I don't think Philip Rivers. I mean, in stretches he can, but I don't think he can throw that much. I don't think that's a knock on Rivers. Like I said, that's for most quarterbacks, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers can necessarily throw as much as maybe he did in that window. And they had a little bit of a running game with that 50 yards from Starks or whoever it was in the Super Bowl. But Rivers needs balance. Anytime in the NFL the defense knows what's coming, it's very difficult to to be successful. Obviously. The offensive line, even though it was Jacksonville, played better than we could ever have imagined. They, dealt with injuries. They dealt with guys having to, switch sides. It seems like a little while ago. And there were some bumps along the way. It wasn't an easy game necessarily, in the first half. I respect why Mike McCoy, wanted to get a touchdown there at the end of the half. Certainly, even though, he's a first-year coach, he probably hears what we, the fans, or at least what the media report that the fans think, which is that Chargers don't have a killer instinct. They got to go for the throat when they got a team down. They got to knock them out. So, I'm sure at the end of the half he's thinking, God, we're down here, and we really need to maximize this opportunity. Of course, it was a bad decision on Rivers' part to run. If you're Matt Stafford, like you saw last weekend, and you are mobile enough or athletic enough to go over the top, then you can try something like that. Rivers, in his case, kind of, I don't want to say lunge, but did something forward, and ended up being a big play at the time. And I think under Norv Turner, I think that that's the kind of play that would have led to a second half slipping. Remember that Kansas City game last year, that Rivers threw an interception essentially at the end of the half in the end zone, and that really set the tone for the rest of the season. They won that game, but that was really the feeling that they can't even, not fuck this up. So, the Chargers know what they need. Whether or not they'll be able to do it is another thing. Obviously, Washington has a pretty good defense. I'm not even going to dignify, all this conversation about Brandon Merriweather, what he said. Obviously, with Kerrigan and with Arakpo, they have pass rushers. They can generate some pressure. Our offensive line has played great. Can we expect them to continue to play great? These guys that really, aren't that well known to begin with, and some of them, haven't even been on the field. I mean, Reinhardt goes out, Johnny Troutman comes in. Um, DJ Fluker's played great, more so in the run game. I don't know what we can expect out of this team. The receivers have really stepped up. I mean, certainly, they've had two, Keenan Allen, Rookie of the Week, and DJ Fluker won as well. I mean, when was the last time you could name the Chargers rookies were even getting awards? I probably would assume it's somewhere 2006, 7, or 8. I'd have to check. Certainly, it says a lot about Telesco. I know NFL.com, I don't know if it was Gil Brandt, wrote a post this week saying the Chargers were getting the most out of their rookies of any team, which is refreshing, as they play the team that AJ Smith is currently, I guess, consulting for or whatever. But I don't know if we can expect these guys to step up, but I sure as hell would like to think so. We look like we have balance on offense. I mean, I remember what was it, 2006 when the Chargers opened camp. I remember thinking, and in 1994, who's going to play receiver for this team? I mean, at the time of 2006, Vincent Jackson. Later on that year, Malcolm Floyd. Eric Parker, McCardle was on the team, but really was absent, more and more as the year went on. These guys, nobody really knew who was going to be the number one receiver if there was one. And Jackson certainly didn't establish himself as a number one really for a couple of seasons after that. This year, the same thing. Now you have Vincent Brown. Now you have Keenan Allen. Malcolm Floyd, obviously isn't returning. I don't even know at this point, if the Chargers really miss him. I mean, he made some great catches. He's acrobatic. I feel horrible for him, but obviously these guys right now have been a lot more reliable, and Gates is healthy, occasionally guilty of a drop, occasionally guilty of a fumble, which is pretty infrequent, but, Ladarius Green looks great. To an extent, Phillips has been good, at least for blocking. On defense, the secondary played better against Jacksonville. Derek Cox obviously is looking better. He looked gooder. He looked better than he has, which isn't saying a lot. Teo wore the headset. I don't know if Don Butler is going to play on Sunday. He's had a lot of injuries, and certainly, the team hasn't played that much worse without him. And you could probably argue they have played better at times without him. The one game I remember Donald Butler being in this year, Philadelphia, I remember him being, pretty ineffective. Oh, wait, was Philadelphia the one that he should have played but didn't? No, that was Tennessee. Yeah, Philadelphia, he wasn't all that effective. So he may have been hurt by his injury. I'm just saying, long term, I don't know if Donald Butler deserves the money that he may have wanted or that everybody thought he should have gotten. Enough said. So it's a huge game for the Chargers. Hopefully that... I don't want to say take care of business because that makes it seem like it's a game they absolutely should win. But I guess in the scheme of the season, it's a game that they need to absolutely win. Hopefully they'll come in there and they'll have the attitude that this is the game that they need. I'm sure they're aware Denver's coming in the following week. I don't think they're looking past anybody. It's good this came, after a bye. And, I'm sure by 1 o'clock on Sunday I'll be pretty fired up. I'll be represented, as they say. So I'll keep it short and sweet. It's Halloween night. But I will talk to you next week, and I'll continue to try to, pepper the posts with some videos, but I'll certainly go back to writing this week. I haven't been able to do it. So until next week, Ross Warner, Justice Coming, go Bolts.